Welcome to Redditors. Please hit the like button. Let's get on with the video.
What is a fact that can possibly save your life? If a tornado looks like it isn't moving, it's heading right towards you. I've never been in one, but apparently if one is near it sounds like a train. Maybe not your life, but someone else's. Most drowning is silent. The victim quite literally cannot speak to call for help, as they are too desperately trying to get any air at all. Drowning can look simply like a person bobbing in the water until they no longer come back up. Keep a watch out, especially if it's kids. I came here to comment something about drowning. I've seen lots and lots, maybe hundreds, of people in the early stages of drowning. And it's definitely not at all like the movies. The movement of a swimmer can alert you to the fact that they are drowning. Most swimmers, in my experience, exhibit what we call climbing the ladder. Their faces upturned as they gasp for air, and you can see their arms furiously moving as if they are trying to literally climb a ladder out of the water. I've only had a handful of incidents where the swimmer has shouted, screamed. Definitely the exception to the rule. Always pays to be vigilant around water. It's pretty unforgiving. And please always have eyes on children as they playing around water. Drowning can happen ridiculously quickly. This is a New Zealand specific one, but all emergency numbers work here. The official number is 111, but 999, 000, 911, etc. will all work. This is so that tourists can still reach emergency services easily. I've just recently moved to NZ from the States and have been constantly worrying that I'll forget the new number in a time of crisis. So this is so comforting. I love this place. If you are ever buried in rubble, earthquake, tornado, building collapse etc., don't shout. You'll lose your voice and waste energy. Instead, grab a piece of rubble and knock in patterns of threes. Humans are expert pattern makers and pattern notices. Rescuers will hear the distinctive pattern sound and go toward it. Once you can hear people, then use your voice. Double check advices in this thread with your own research. Probably the best advice in this thread. If your car goes into the water, open the door or roll down the windows immediately. If you don't, the pressure differential will hold them shut and you'll have to wait until the car fills up with water. My buddy did a master's thesis on exactly this and I was able to test out this scenario several times. If you go into the water, get out ASAP. Don't wait. Roll down the windows and get out. The electronics of the car should still work long enough to roll them down. Don't wait until there is equal pressure. You could be upside down at the bottom of a lake wedged between an object. React and move as fast as you can. All firearms are loaded. Even if they are not, they are. True. Even if you remove the mag, there still could be a live round inside the chamber. Do not delay getting out of a burning building. The flames are not what will kill you. The smoke will get very thick and toxic very quickly and you will not be able to see the way to get out. If you get impaled or stabbed, leave the object in and call 911, or your country's equal. That object is keeping all the blood on the inside of your body. If you ever almost drown to the point of throwing up water or passing out, even if you feel 100% fine, get to a hospital. Your lungs can unwittingly self-fill up with fluid over the next few hours. If someone is in trouble and you want to leap in to save them, make sure you have a way to get out yourself. I recently saw a video of a drowning man. Another man jumped in to try and save him. Instead both drowned. If you get kidnapped, try to leave as much traces of yourself behind as you can. For example, leave bits of clothing behind or scratch your arms a lot to leave dead skin behind. This way you increase your chances that a search dog could pick up your scent and find you. I watched a crime show once where the victim left her hair everywhere in her abductor's car. She kept pulling single strands of hair out. When she was taken to the house of the person who took her, she pulled more hair out, touched everything she could to leave fingerprints behind, and even licked multiple places in his house. She managed to escape and they found evidence of her all over his car and house. Slam shut case. I wish I could remember her name so I could look her case up. Side note about kidnapping: if someone threatens you, even with a gun, to get in their car, it may be best to run for it. Most people are terrible shots and don't want to attract the attention gunfire would cause, and once they have you, your odds of a good outcome plummet. If you smell a fish smell in your house, some people also report a urine-like smell, for no reason. 9 times out of 10 it means there's an electrical fire. I actually was the hero in this situation. Was visiting my sister a number of years back, hanging out on her couch, smelled a smell of urine, with a bit of dead fish mixed in. I asked her what that was. She answered, "It's been here for weeks. We think a rat or squirrel got trapped in the walls." That didn't sound right to me. A dead animal would smell different, and for whatever reason, I googled smells like urine. Electrical fire was the first answer, so I sniffed all around the room and found it was coming from the plug of an old lamp. Unplugged it, odor vanished. Instant hero. Chest compressions are important regardless of mouth to mouth. Keep going when, not if, you break their ribs too. It's going to feel really gross, but it happens. If you're in a group, swap out when you get tired. If you're alone, keep going until you physically can't or until emergency services arrive. And of course use the BG's staying alive to keep the tempo low. If your vomit look like coffee ground, you are bleeding internally, you need to go to the hospital. If the ocean is retreating, there is a tsunami coming. Evacuate the beach immediately. If the animals are running, I'm going to follow them. Maybe they are running because you are following them. When will you stop? I read somewhere if a stranger gets in your car and tells you to take them somewhere, drive into something like a lamppost or anything, you won't be useful to them anymore because the car is damaged and you've drawn attention to them by crashing the car. You'll damage your car, but you'll have your life and your bank account. Someone at my college did this a few years ago. The guy told him to drive to the bank and withdraw all his money, so he drove into a lamppost and saved himself. Don't do this if you're an Uber driver. My wife was born and raised in Colombia. Her dad is a doctor. Back in the 90s, some of his cousins kidnapped him in order to steal his money and kill him. He faked a heart attack and they panicked. Ended up tossing him out of the car. He's still with us today. Colombians are some crazy moth affairs. When having a heart attack, you don't swallow aspirin. You chew it. There are no rules. If a stranger puts their hands on you, yell, scream bloody murder, kick, bite, make the biggest scene you possibly can and run away as fast as you can. Make sure your kids understand that this is the exception. The time they must draw as much attention as possible and do anything it takes to get away and get help. Had this conversation with my son the other day. He's a very hyper and loud kid, and I told him if anyone ever grabs him, he needs to be louder than he's ever been able to be. I also told him if he gets grabbed, anything goes. Pull hair, poke eyes, anything, all while screaming. We practiced getting out of different holds too. Maybe not your life, but possibly others. In an emergency situation, pick one person to specifically call 911. In lots of stressful or emergency situations, there are significant delays in calling 911. Some people assume that others will call 911 while others panic, freeze up and don't think to call 911. If you are faced with a situation where 911 is necessary, pick a specific person to contact 911. If you're being tied up, puff yourself out as much as possible so it'll be easier to wiggle out of. Tense muscles. Inhale deep and stretch out your arms and legs to make more space. Me and my classmates used to have competitions where we'd tie each other up with rope. It started out with hands, but it went to full body, and we'd time ourselves on how fast we could get out. It was also good practice for tying someone up since we got to see which methods worked best. I used to pull this trick all the time and get the fastest time. My hands would be really red and there would be lots of marks, but it was worth it. Never pull out a gun or any weapon unless you are prepared to kill or die. Weapons escalate the situation to another level. If you have a weapon, intend to use it and risk having it used on you. This one's pretty obvious, but if someone's grabbing you, it's usually easy to break the hold by grabbing their thumb. Can't hold so well without your thumb. I'm glad I haven't had the opportunity to use this next one, but I've been taught that if someone is trying to assault you or kidnap you, and you manage to get him on the ground, prop his leg up on something, kneecap facing upward, and jump on that goddamn knee. Can't chase or kidnap you if he can't walk. Soy sauce is deadly if consumed in large quantities at once, so no stupid soy sauce dares or challenges please. If you are buried in an avalanche, you won't be able to tell which way is up. You should spit. Gravity will carry the spit down. Dig the opposite way so you can escape. You can perform the Heimlich maneuver on yourself. Put your dominant fist above your belly button. Wrap your other hand around the fist. Drive your first in and up into your diaphragm hard and repeatedly until whatever you're choking on dislodges. Re-swallow your food after chewing it some more cause that burger will 6.99 and you ain't gonna let the man take you out. If you have to perform CPR you can follow the beat of Staying Alive by the Bee Gees or Another One Bites the Dust by Queen. But don't sing Another One Bites the Dust as you do it. It's not what people want to hear. Probably said already, but bad CPR is better than no. Even if you're unskilled, you literally cannot make the person more dead, as being dead is what predicates CPR. If you have a puncture wound to the chest or abdomen, the first thing you should do is place a non-porous, think plastic bag, object over the wound. It will help prevent tension pneumothorax. A tourniquet is quite simple to put on and can save a life if there is no other option. Place close to the site or near, not on, a joint. Never remove a tourniquet once placed, as clots can travel to the brain and lungs. Also mark the time you put it on. If you're at an accident scene and have no medical training, something you can do is collect information and help calm victims. This is quite helpful as it assists the paramedics with triage and keeps potential injured person's heart rates down. Alternatively, learn how to hold C-spine. If your car ever gets stuck on the train tracks, look for a sign on the crossing arms. This is the Railway 911 and has a number to call to stop traffic as well as your exact location. If you've been cut deeply, pack gauze into the wound as tightly as possible, then hold pressure. If you are driving in inclement weather, pay attention to truckers. They are often warned ahead of time of wrecks and things due to their radios. Also never drive in the rain without headlights. Not for yourself, but someone else. First aid in general is not meant to be the only form of aid a person receives. If you give someone CPR, or use a defibrillator on them, or they have a severe allergic reaction requiring an EpiPen, you should still call emergency services immediately. These are just temporary measures to buy time until a medical professional can treat them more thoroughly. Similarly, chewing aspirin for a suspected heart attack still requires emergency services to treat the issue or rule out complications.